Hey guys, we're going to use Pages again from Hub City Soap Company, and we're going to put the Derby Extra blade in the Fatip L Storto and the Ornge marbled handled bristle Brushwerks handle with a B9A. I've used it once on this channel already, and I was able to finally find a B9A that had a backbone that was relaxed enough to give me easy splay, which is what I want. I've been soaking it for a little bit. The tips do not gel with this one. At least they haven't yet. I bet they won't, because they're not as super soft as those tips that do that. I'm giving Hub City another use. I had a wonderful performance. It performed well with me the other day, and so I wanted to use it again for sure. I like the scent. It's a little on the light side, a little bit, but really I still enjoy the strength of it. But the performance is really good, top notch, and I like the musty scents, the leather and woody notes that are in there. So here's our disassembled razor. I'm going to take the Derby Extra, put it on there. As always, guys, be careful with the blade edges. Take your time and do it carefully. So this is a Slant from Fatip. And I've just had somebody tell me in the comments, because the few shaves that I've done with this one so far, with 3 of my favorite blades, they have left my easy areas wonderfully smooth, comfortable, highly efficiently cut. But my problem area here is not cut as good as I want. And I can't remember who commented, but they said that the open comb slant from Fatip, this is the solid bar slant, the open comb was smoother, according to him, and might have the right kind of geometry to get that area. So I'll have to put that on my radar and see if one comes around. All right, we got the brush soaking, the blades in the razor. So I did some more research on the guy behind Hub City. As you can see, he's in Texas, and he seems to be a real stand-up guy. And I had done some research on him, and look, he kind of got used to the whole online experience and all that, and has been just terrific. Interacting with people. I talked to a couple of friends, and they had nothing but good things to say about him. I always like to try to support companies with where the owners have some character. You know, that's why I love Stirling and Mammoth and the guy behind Noble Otter. You know, these guys are just tremendous. Stirling and Noble Otter both released a soap called Kaboom, or rather Stirling was going to release it as a seasonal back in 2019, I believe, and then it was going to be one of those available in the 3 ounces, and then they all of a sudden were made aware that Noble Otter had already put out one called Kaboom. And did you have any fighting? No. They talked it out, and like somebody decided to, Noble Otter decided to, hey, just use it. Stirling may have done something like giving a portion of the proceeds to charity, but it was just a wonderful interaction to watch these 2 vendors help each other out. And I like to support. Fortunately, we have tons of soap makers. You know, when it comes to your cable provider, you're pretty much stuck with whoever you got, right? And so if they suck, then you have to stick with them, unfortunately. But with soap companies right now in the world we are in, you can choose ones that reflect your values, and you can support them wholeheartedly. And it seems like the guy behind Hub City is a good dude. And he is a good dude who has found and made a good soap base. I will tell you that much. And I talked to him, and he said that he, I think this artwork is kind of decent. It's kind of basic, but I think it's classy, and it doesn't look basic. I know it's basic because I have enough of a graphic arts education to know that it wouldn't be too hard to put that together. But when you do things the right way, it looks like somebody in his family or him has a pretty good eye for the graphic development, because I think they're pretty classy looking labels, right? And so he said that he's not trying to get this into some big business. This is just a side hobby that he does. He makes scents that he likes, and he does use sometimes the fragrance oils, which a lot of people use, but then sometimes he does use pre-blends. And I think somebody said he's gotten pretty public about which ones are pre-blends, but some people only want to use original scents, you know. But to me, if I read the description and like it, that's all that matters to me. Yeah, the musty. Well, once we get going here, now I had tons of soap last time, so let's knock it down to 20 seconds of loading. I believe I had plenty of lather last time. And the brushes had a few minutes to soak while I yammered on. Shake out a lot of the water. You can see a little bit of the residue left over from the previous shave. And what did I say, 20 seconds? All right, starting at 10, so we'll go to 30. Four more seconds. There we go. Didn't overflow the container at all. So in a way, I could have maybe used more water. You can always figure that out for yourself, and that could change per soap base. You can always just figure out how much water you want to have in your brush when you come to the soap. Now, some people scoop. For the reason of keeping the soap clean, which I don't really bother with. It's soap. And so then they'll scoop and they'll press the sample into the bottom of some kind of loading bowl. You've seen me do that if you're a follower of this channel for very much, because you have to do that with samples, those tiny little containers. But if you have more water in your brush coming at it than what I just did on that tub right there, that would have been, suds would have been overflowing like crazy. And so you can pick whichever method works for you. Slightly drier brush, you know, can work. Sometimes you have to change the times. Now with just the amount of water that I had in my brush, I like to work it and see what I end up with. And that's a very nice early lather on the dry side, and that's okay because we're not adding water yet. And as I recall, I was able to push quite a bit of water into this soap. So I'm going to just go ahead and shoot in 2 teaspoons of water. So the scent notes here, as I am just stirring it up. The top notes that you're going to hit first: cedar, leather, and teakwood. And I can kind of smell a little bit of leather. It's something. It's either kind of a smoother leather scent. You know, there are different leather scents out there, and I like the fact that it comes across as a smooth leather scent. I don't know if something else in the mix is smoothing it out a little bit, or if that's just the nature of that particular scent that he's using. And then the cedar, I'm really glad it's not a punchy, bitter kind of cedar. A poignant smelling cedar, sharp, if you will. Teakwood, I like the smell of that, I believe. And then the musk, I'm really glad it's not a punchy, bitter kind of cedar. A poignant smelling cedar, sharp, if you will. Teakwood, I like the smell of that, I believe. And then the musk, I'm really glad it's not a punchy, bitter kind of cedar. A poignant smelling cedar, sharp, if you will. And then later on, you might smell amyris, patchouli, sandalwood, and dark musk. I maybe got a hint of the patchouli, but I didn't really get too much of those other ingredients. Very good. 3½ teaspoons now. So that's it. 7 notes he had listed for this one. I really am a fan of the base notes. The woodiness and the leather. I really like it when those are a dominant part. Sandalwood is in so many different soaps, but it must be in such a small quantity because I often don't even smell it. It's listed many times in the scent notes of different accords. All right, looking good. Not a whole lot of lather. That's okay because we have a pass in here. There's definitely 2 passes in here. And so this is, it sounds like the 20 seconds for the way I load and use. Looks like that might be a good amount to go with. Now this has got a lot of liquid to it. Look how fluid that is. Let me pull it down again for you. That's very loose. Shake it a little bit and you can see it kind of come down. So what I'm going to do, I could have put maybe too much water in it because the other time I used this, it took a lot of water. Well, I also loaded for more time, you see, so I had more soap in the mix. So, you know, it might have been that I was a little too aggressive, but it also could be that it just needs another little bit of mixing to even everything out. And it might thicken up a little bit as we bring more soap to those watery parts. So for the final bit, I'm going to tilt you down. That is pretty, that is pretty hydrated. And we will see if it's too hydrated. We'll just see. I may have pushed it too far. I recommend you doing that, especially if you're the kind of person that uses one soap until it's done, something like that. I recommend highly push your soap until it breaks and then use it, see how it feels. But as you push it, look at it. Look at the textures. Feel how it feels as you're mixing it. Of course, on your face, you can kind of use your face to be a sensor as well. But if you're in the bowl, you can pull it up like I do. Watch how it drips. Watch how globs come out, the shapes, the contours over the surface of the lather. Watch those as you push water into it more and more. And then when it finally breaks, try to mentally figure out what did it look like right before then. And then maybe try that next time. That could still be too wet for you. You may not have the same preferences as I do. But then if you remember those milestones along the way, then now you've taken it as far as it can go. Number one, you could discover, that you can be using a lot more water than you think you can. And that could be a really cool thing. And then number two, you discover what happens with it if it does get too wet. And some people, especially straight razor shavers, by the way, I've got 2 days of growth on here. Straight razor shavers like their lather to be very wet, usually much more wet and well hydrated than us double-edged razor shavers. Let me get my face wet. Oh no, I'm so concerned that this Fatip is going to give me a problem trying to cut down these 2 days of growth. Of course, I'm acting all pitiful because if you watched when I used the Fatip in the past, it cut down 3 days of growth easily, almost in a 2-pass shave. Yeah, this is a really slick lather. This is thin. It is tedious to add soap back into your lather if you have overwatered. And so I do think it's a little better to err on the side of too dry than too wet. However, there's a couple things you can do to fix the problem. As I'm working this lather into my skin, you can just kind of work your face for a while and let the water evaporate out of the lather, and it will slowly thicken up on you. You can, after your rinse, dry your face off. And then part of the water in the lather will work its way back into your skin and leave the lather and let the lather thicken up. You can also simply go back to the tub. Instead of going back to the tub, loading for 5 seconds, and then going back to your bowl and trying to integrate that into everything, I don't recommend that. That's just a long chore. I recommend going back to the puck. 5 seconds is a pretty good usual amount, and then just go right to your face. And at that point, you're kind of hybrid shaving. You're kind of face lathering to get your lather to kind of cream up a little bit more. And it pretty much always works. Just go back to your puck and get up a little bit, because if the lather on your face is too wet, then if you just bring a little bit of soap to it, then it'll be interesting to watch it as it thickens up and gets rich and all that stuff. Now, I just recommend 5 seconds. If you go and you load, sometimes if you go and you load 10 seconds or so, then you end up, see, look, it's thickening up on me. If you load too much, now you got to sprinkle a little bit of water in your brush because you've put too much soap in your brush. But you can do it. So this is a great smell. It's not strong. It's not going to bowl anybody over. I don't think it's going to offend anybody. Just the woody, the leather. One of the things I think about as I've contemplated making my own scent, you know, if I found a soap maker and I said, this scent right here is missing from the industry. It's what I think would be just awesome. How much would it cost to make it? Or if I found somebody that does small batches, you know. And so I thought, you know, almost like a mental exercise. I probably would never do it because there's so many good scents out there. All right, Fatip with Derby. Derby is a blade that is very inexpensive. Some people really like it. A lot of people like to hate on it because I guess it treats a lot of people kind of roughly, but for me, it does pretty well, and it's really cheap. And so it's kind of one of my go-to budget blades, along with Wilkinson Sword, the ones from India. And so we've got the Derby Extra in the L Storto. So let's just see. We've kind of tried all the favorites. So now let's try the Red-Headed Stepchild. Ooh, that's feeling pretty. He's definitely more kind of. I can feel him cutting. He's definitely not a smooth cutter like those other three are. But at this point, what I'm curious about is, I don't care about how smooth he cuts. I want to know, does this little guy, can he cut my neck area in my trouble spot? So we'll see. So I thought about, continuing my previous thought, you know, what scent would I put together if I wanted to put together my own? And this one, Pages, hits some of the notes. Stones from Mammoth probably comes the closest. It's all bass notes. Sandalwood and leather and tobacco and all that. This one does not have tobacco. I'm not a huge tobacco fan, but sometimes it's nice. All right, very good. That came off. I felt it didn't cut through as smoothly, but it by no means was tuggy at all. All right. Oh, since this was a little wet, let me dab my face dry a little bit. That'll help. But really, it wasn't a problem at all. So the brush is nice. The tips, I think they might be softening up. You know, after a few weeks, they may actually change a little bit. They're not super soft. There's a little bit of backbone there, but nothing like the other B9As that I've tried. I think not many people were buying the B9As, if I had to venture a guess. And so he realized, hey, I've got all this hair that nobody's buying, and let me retreat them. And so I think that's maybe, my guess might be that's where the B9A Plus came from, because those had gel tips. All right, so second pass. Very comfortable. I don't think I'm stirring up any irritation. Cutting more smoothly now that there is less stubble. Oh, hey, that's right. See, it wasn't a smooth cutting because it was dealing. It was 2 days of growth, not just one. So that's actually very respectable. And right now it's very nice. Very good feel. My goatee is smaller than before. I can definitely tell that this blade is not as sharp. It's not digging into my skin. And it didn't really dig into my skin too much with the other blades, but I did end up with a little bit of irritation in areas where I had to hit quite a bit. And so maybe this blade is just not as super keenly sharp or something, right? Okay, 20 seconds of load time is pretty good, and I'm going to end up with more than 3 passes of lather. I do like to have a little bit in the hopper in case I make some kind of mistake, or the razor needs, I have to switch to another razor because it didn't work very well, so I have to do more passes, you know, that sort of thing. Rarely happens, but did the other day. Very nice. It's a light scent as you're right now, have it on my face. Not very strong, 3 or 4 out of 10. But then when you're working it with the brush, when you have the bowl near your nose, when you're down there rinsing, you do get a nice, nice exposure to it. And so to me, it is a part of the shave. I don't feel like I'm using an unscented lather. Got the burps. All right. Yeah, see, it's a little translucent, transparent in places, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just a micro layer of lather is all you need. And this is very slick. So see, this soap is handling itself well, as it has a little too much water, and that's always good to know. And that to me, that is a hallmark of a good soap base. I do think this blade is treating me a little nicer than the others. Maybe because this razor has more exposure than the usual razors that I use, but because it's a slant, you don't feel that as aggression, and so it can sneak up on you, which is what it's done for the first 3 shaves I did with this guy. I want to re-lather right there because this is where the money is made. And there we go. We'll just see how that comes up. Wouldn't it be interesting if this little El Cheapo blade, because maybe it's a little smoother, you know, but it's all about angles, really. And so maybe the angles, the bevel, the way this blade maintains its sharpness is different than those other three kind of premium blades that I tried before. So it could have matched. The extra could be just a really good match for this razor. And rinse. Another little tip, if you enjoy using a slant, it's possible you could be dealing with more aggression than sometimes you get with non-slant razors because they're just sneaky that way. And I enjoy, in that case, making sure I have a balm as my aftershave product instead of an alcohol splash. Also, that's one of the reasons I use cooler water when I rinse. That can really settle down and soothe, you know, skin that's been maybe harassed a little bit by those aggressive slants. So feel free to use those tips if you need. If you do want to use alcohol splash and you sometimes find that you have a sensitivity to it because your skin's been worked on by the razor, what I do is I will take my, you can either wait a couple hours before you put it on. That seems to work for me. You can also take some witch hazel, like Thayer's, which is really more of an aloe type witch hazel, or you can use Dickinson's. Put that on, like I might put it on right now if I wanted to do that, and then give that a few minutes as you're maybe cleaning stuff up, and then put on your aftershave splash. That seems to help my skin, at least. Maybe it'll help you. All right, well, there we go. Let us look at the closeness. Now, I believe that that's just as good and maybe a little better than the other blades that I've tried. There is, near the area where my beard starts to turn into empty skin, there are some stragglers, and that is where I can really get irritation. And maybe if I want to shave that area better, maybe I need to do a little bit better job of manipulating that skin. You don't want to overstretch. There is such a thing, and you can get ingrown hairs from that. But just a kind of a gentle stretching. Sometimes instead of stretching, you can shift your skin over one way or the other, up or down, to put those areas in flatter places, and that can help you. But I'm wary because I do get irritation right along here very easily because there's not as much hair there. And those are some of the stragglers. But then up here where it's more normal density, it's really kind of pretty good. I think maybe, assuming that my technique is not at fault, XD Derby might be the best blade for this razor, for me at least. And when I say technique, I mean maybe there are some better strokes, that maybe the DEs that I've been using for so long, and I've gotten used to the strokes that work best for this area. Maybe that doesn't quite work as well for the slants. But I don't have near the irritation with the use of this blade that I did with the other three blades. So this is definitely the most comfortable, and this may be cutting me a little bit closer. I believe it is. And so that's pretty cool. Might have to try all my cheapo blades on this razor, right? And it is a young Derby. I think it's only had 2 or 3 shaves. So it's pretty fresh. It's not like it's been smoothed out by a dozen uses or so. All right, well, that is just really nice. I tried the Pages before, and I believe I hit on really optimum mix of soap and water, and I experienced that previously. Now, today I got a chance to taste it as an overhydrated. Some people might like this hydration level, but for me, it's a little bit more wet than I might normally like. And it performed very well. It didn't break down. So that's another kudo for this soap maker and his little side hobby. He's just I don't know if they're passing around the great formulations of soap. You know, years ago, I think the guy from LA Soap Company, LA Shaving Company, something like that, he actually wrote some kind of downloadable or something that, and then a bunch of other soap makers started with that formula as their building block. And so you can see a lot of soaps out that are still in use today that still kind of have that same feel. And I can kind of tell which ones those, I can tell it when I'm using one of them. And they have that high structure, they bubble up and things like that. I wonder with these new bases, with this like Hub City, it's so good. It really is so good. It's almost, I don't know if he's been working on this for a long time, you know, and in which case he has, you know, worked and experimented and figured out the right base, you know, or if he's got some, and it's very cool if he were to get some help from another soap maker. I mean, why not help your friends out? You know, there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. But either way, he has discovered and he has a nice soap base. And I'm going to check out his website and see what scents I might have. I know he has some samples online. And so that's a great way to try some soaps, try some of his scents. All right, well, hey, I've got this Intrepid Man right here as my balm, and my face is, I mean, I have barely any irritation, just like a little bit over here, and that could have actually been activated by all that stretching I was doing to kind of illustrate my point. A little water will help this balm to move around instead of being so thick. I don't quite need it to be super nourishing. Stirling is a good balm. This has got a nice scent to it. I think it's a Creed Original Santal is the one it's kind of patterned after. So this was a good use of the L Storto. No bleeders or anything like that. More comfortable. Really nice shave. It's a razor I enjoy using. We'll use it a few more times. Several of you guys are interested in it. And there may not be too many reviews online for it, especially guys that use lathers like me or have technique like me with that, you know, such a light touch and that sort of thing. I don't go against the grain because it really gives me irritation on my neck like crazy, bleeding, all kinds of things. So I just have to, I enjoy the closeness I get from two with the grain and then two cross grain passes. That's what I do usually. The water, 3.5 teaspoons. That is how much water I used. And we can put, and this soap goes really well with the Intrepid Man. They have some, Intrepid Man has sandalwood in it. It's not a dominant scent in Intrepid Man, but it seems like it might be providing a nice link. These go really well together. I think the Pages, if Pages made a balm or something like that, then it could be a really nice follow-up with a shave with the Intrepid Man soap. Now, I did try the Pages aftershave, and it didn't have these wonderful cedar, woody, leathery, smooth notes to it. It was a little bit different. Different aspects of the woodiness were coming out that weren't the smoothness, that kind of thing. And sometimes that's normal for the different media. Hard soap, clear liquid, you know, with alcohol. There's just sometimes it's hard to get the liquids, the scent to act right in two different bases, in two different mediums. All right, well, I'm going to clean up. Well, I am continuing to really enjoy this brush. I really am. We'll keep going with that. And so I enjoyed using the razor. Got a little bit better of a cut and more comfortable cut with the Derby blade. We'll maybe try some more blades in the future. However, maybe I'll switch to a single edge. Hub City, did great. The Pages, I really enjoyed the scent. Looking forward to using it some more. And the soap base is top notch. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and that's been it. You guys take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.